You know that feeling when someone walks into a room and within minutes you can tell there's something different about them? Not in an obvious show-off kind of way, but in how they carry themselves, how they listen, how they respond. Here's what most people don't realize. Some of the clearest signs of high intelligence have nothing to do with test scores, degrees hanging on walls, or being able to solve complex equations in your head.
In fact, the most intelligent people among us often display their brilliance through 5 subtle behaviors that they don't even realize they're doing. And here's the fascinating part. If you do these things, you might be far more intelligent than you give yourself credit for.
Let's start with something that might surprise you. Highly intelligent people have a peculiar relationship with doubt. While most of us spend our lives trying to appear confident and certain about everything, truly smart individuals actually question themselves constantly. But here's the twist. This isn't the crippling self-doubt that holds people back. It's something entirely different.
They question their conclusions, revisit their assumptions, and remain genuinely open to the possibility that they might be wrong. This is called intellectual humility, and it's one of the most reliable markers of real intelligence.
Think about it this way. Someone with average intelligence learns something and treats it as gospel truth. Someone highly intelligent learns the same thing and immediately starts poking holes in it, looking for exceptions, wondering about edge cases. They're not being contrarian for the sake of it. Their brains are simply wired to see knowledge as provisional, always subject to refinement.
If you find yourself often saying things like, "I could be wrong, but," or "from what I understand," even when you're quite knowledgeable about a topic, that's not weakness. That's your intelligence showing. You understand that knowledge is vast, and your corner of it, however large, is still just a corner.
The second behavior is even more counterintuitive. Highly intelligent people waste time. Yes, you read that right, but they waste it in a very specific way. While everyone else is optimizing every minute, scheduling every hour, and feeling guilty about any moment that isn't productive, intelligent people allow themselves to drift. They stare out windows. They take long walks without their phones. They lie in bed thinking about random questions that have no practical application whatsoever. This isn't laziness, and it isn't procrastination in the traditional sense. It's mind-wandering, and neuroscience has shown us that this is when some of our most sophisticated thinking happens. When you let your mind wander, different parts of your brain start talking to each other in ways they don't during focused work. Connections form between seemingly unrelated ideas. Problems that seemed impossible suddenly have solutions. That shower thought that solved your work problem? That's not coincidence. That's your intelligent brain doing what it does best when you finally stop forcing it.
If you feel guilty about daydreaming, or if people have told you that you seem lost in thought, don't apologize. Your brain is probably making connections that more rigidly focused minds miss entirely. Some of humanity's greatest breakthroughs came during these moments of unfocused attention. Einstein called it combinatory play, and he considered it essential to his creative thinking.
Now let's talk about the third sign, and this one might make you uncomfortable. Highly intelligent people are exceptionally good at being alone. Not lonely, mind you. There's a crucial difference. They don't avoid social connection, but they also don't need constant external stimulation to feel okay. They can sit with their own thoughts for extended periods without reaching for their phone, without needing background noise, without feeling that creeping anxiety that something is missing. This comfort with solitude stems from having a rich internal world. Their minds are interesting enough that spending time inside them isn't a punishment. They think about ideas for fun. They replay conversations and consider what they could have said differently. They imagine scenarios and work through them. They essentially provide their own entertainment through thought alone.
If you're the person who actually enjoys a quiet evening at home with no plans, who doesn't feel FOMO when everyone else is out, who can entertain yourself on a long flight without headphones or a screen, your intelligence might be showing.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This ability to be alone is directly connected to deeper thinking. You can't think deeply about complex topics while simultaneously scrolling social media and texting 3 people. Deep thought requires the very thing that makes most people uncomfortable: uninterrupted time with yourself. Intelligent people don't just tolerate this, they crave it.
The fourth behavior is perhaps the most misunderstood. Highly intelligent people adapt their communication style dramatically depending on who they're talking to. This isn't being fake or two-faced, it's sophisticated social intelligence. They can discuss quantum physics with a professor and then 10 minutes later explain the same concept to a curious 10-year-old using completely different language. They code switch effortlessly, not to manipulate, but to actually communicate. Most people communicate the way they think, assuming others will keep up or figure it out. Intelligent people do something much harder. They model the other person's mind. They ask themselves what this specific person knows, what they care about, what examples would resonate with them. Then they craft their message accordingly. If you find yourself naturally adjusting your vocabulary, your examples, and even your humor depending on your audience, that's not being inauthentic. That's your brain doing complex real-time analysis of another person's knowledge and perspective. This also shows up in how they handle disagreements. Instead of just defending their position, they try to understand the framework the other person is operating from. They ask questions not to trap the other person, but because they're genuinely trying to see through different eyes. This cognitive flexibility, this ability to temporarily adopt another perspective without losing your own, is a hallmark of high intelligence. Finally, the fifth sign might be the most unexpected of all. Highly intelligent people have oddly specific knowledge about random things. They know way too much about medieval siege warfare, or the migration patterns of monarch butterflies, or the history of punctuation marks. These aren't their careers. These aren't even necessarily their hobbies in any formal sense. They're just things their minds latched onto and refuse to let go. This happens because intelligent minds are intensely curious, and they don't limit their curiosity to useful things. They follow intellectual rabbit holes purely for the joy of knowing. Someone mentions something interesting at dinner, and while everyone else nods and moves on, the intelligent person goes home and spends 2 hours reading about it. Not because they need to know it, not because it'll help their career, simply because not knowing feels worse than knowing. If you're the person who can randomly contribute obscure facts to conversations, who has Wikipedia spirals that last hours, who watches documentaries about things you'll never directly use, your brain is revealing its nature. Intelligence isn't just about solving problems you're given. It's about being so curious about the world that you create your own problems to solve, your own questions to answer. So here's what all of this means. If you recognized yourself in these 5 behaviors, if you question your own knowledge, if you let your mind wander, if you're comfortable alone, if you adapt how you speak, if you know random things just because, you're displaying signs of high intelligence that you probably never thought twice about. These aren't party tricks. They're not the kind of intelligence that gets measured on standardized tests. But they're the kind that leads to genuine insight, creative solutions, and deep understanding. The kind that actually matters in navigating the complexity of real life.
You might not have a genius IQ score framed on your wall, but your everyday behaviors are telling a different story. And maybe, just maybe, it's time you gave yourself credit for the remarkable way your mind works.